Hey everybody, welcome to my Blacklights podcast. What is a blacklight, you ask? I know you didn't. I just placed that in your mouth. A blacklight is a type of empath that I feel like I've coined. I'm sure this type of empath has been discovered before, but I couldn't find a term for it, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't necessarily match exactly with the different types of empaths I've seen in the empath groups on Facebook and Amino and places like that. I had a particular type of inner experience in my life, and it kind of drove me to the point of insanity at some times. It put me in a strange place, with suicide at one point, and just the way that I am. I always want other people to be taken care of. Always. Even at the detriment of my own well-being. And that's not necessarily a healthy thing. So if you are a Blacklight Empath, one of the things that makes you a Blacklight Empath is that it seems at all times and in all places you find yourself in the dark areas of life. You find yourself in maybe with the junkies or maybe with the bad kids who were all black in high school who skipped school. You might not have skipped school with them, but they're the ones that you wanted to be around because you felt like that's the level you are at maybe, or those are the people you related the most with. But the difference is you didn't want to rebel or do anything against your mom and dad like they might have. What you really wanted to do is to find people who are struggling, who are in a dark place, and you want to make sure that you show them love and help them out of that, even though you know it may be impossible for you to do so. For instance, when I was a little kid, I kind of always ended up hanging out with the wrong crowd. And I didn't want to do any of the things that they were doing. I didn't want to do drugs. I didn't want to skip school. I didn't want to skip out on my teachers and get in trouble. But when I looked into their eyes, they're the ones who I wanted to be around the most. They're the ones who I just knew they were hurting. So a Blacklight Empath is going to be a very introspective person. Introspective means not only do you think in your head all the time, but you have other worlds in there, completely other worlds. You can go and you can look around the world and do what you're supposed to do, but at the same time, you're in another place entirely. When you're looking at someone, in your mind's eye, you can be there and here. And you're always criticizing yourself inside. It's almost like there's a whole other person in there, but not like a split personality or a multiple personality disorder kind of thing. You never kind of flip between the two, nothing like that. But it's like you have your conscience standing behind you at all times, speaking with you and telling you where to go and what to do. And weird things in your life just sort of always add up and always save you at the last minute. You may be struggling with finances and then all of a sudden the day before it's due, something happens and you get a check in the mail. Or you fall off of a ledge and just so happens you land in this bush and you roll out and you don't get really that hurt. But you should have died. You're kind of protected in a strange way because you have something to do here on this earth. The Blacklight, I don't know if this is with everyone, so please feel free to comment below. But the Blacklight usually goes through trauma as a child. It can be sexual trauma, it can be physical trauma, mental trauma, or even like a car accident kind of a trauma. But what happens is instead of freaking out and running off and doing bad things because of your trauma, you take that as a lesson, as almost as if you're preordained to learn all of these things in order to use them at a later date. And I know personally, I struggled immensely with feeling loved when I was young. I remember one time I was in my room, laying on my bed, and I got on my hands and my knees, tears streaming down my face, screaming out to God, "Please, God, send me someone who loves me as much as I can love them." I loved everyone, and it seemed like everyone wanted to take advantage of that. Everyone wanted to treat me poorly. And honestly, I know people say this, but I didn't do anything. All I did was be there for people and tried my best to love you. Now the black light takes all of this inner struggle, all of this inner introspection, goes into the darkest places in the world and befriends everyone, makes a movement happen, brings light to the darkness. That's why I coined it Blacklight, because we're always kind of emo, kind of gothic, but we still have an intense radial light about us, and we always want to spread that into those places to make them better, because we know that most of the people in those situations are only there because they're struggling. They're struggling with something that they can't comprehend because they're young or they haven't gotten there yet. But that's why we're there. And we don't oftentimes even know that's why we're there, especially until we're much older. But I just want to let you guys know, you girls know, you people know, especially young people, there's nothing wrong. Use that introspection, use that ability to self-criticize and to speak all the time with yourself. Use that as a chance to grow and to learn, because that constant running of the mind and thinking and analyzing and looking around and just reading people, and that can be very useful because you pick up on things extremely quickly. You pick up on situations, your brain runs an algorithm, it knows what's going on. You can predict future events like that. Sometimes you're like, okay, I know something's about to happen, and boom, it happens. A lot of empaths have that. I think the difference is kind of the darkness that lives inside of you that brings it along. A lot of empaths just love everyone and they feel their pain. Well, the Blacklight does that too. And a lot of times the Blacklight's in pain, but they use that pain as a lesson in order to help people. So, as an empath and a Blacklight, what can we do to make sure that we don't struggle so much or we don't die inside with all this energy for our own negative energy, our own chatter inside of our mind, which is deep analytical conversations with ourselves? How can we go about life without collapsing or burning out? The first thing you need to do is figure out what your energies are. Figure out where you are when you're in alignment. Because the Blacklight has an angelic nature and a demonic nature, but they're best suited right in the middle. So go alone into a closet, into your bedroom, somewhere where no one's going to bother you, preferably at a time when no one's even in the house. Sit alone. Do that thing that you do where you talk to yourself, where you start to analyze yourself and your awareness, your situation. And as you do it, start to figure out, okay, so here's this thought. Where does it come from? Why am I having it, and what's its purpose for me? What does my energy feel like? Okay, so you sit with yourself for a while, and you start to notice, okay, this is me. No one's here to bother me. And the Blacklight oftentimes loves to be alone, but can't stand to be lonely. So you'll start to realize, okay, it feels weird to just be in my energy. Breathe in, breathe out. And as you do, feel that weird little prickle you get. The Blacklight will know this. When you're staring in someone's eyes, you start to get this weird prickling sensation, and you sort of fade out, and you start getting really in tune with a person. Do that for yourself. Go look in the mirror, stare at yourself in the eyes for a while, and just breathe, and feel yourself, feel what it's like to be alone and be with you. Then slowly start going around people, and knowing what you feel like, notice the change when something or someone else is around. I like to start with an animal. I go around my cat. Then I start to feel, okay, this is the cat's energy. This is my energy. I know what I've isolated it. I know what it feels like. This isn't mine. That's something else, someone else's. And when you do that, you practice with more and more people until you can get a huge group of people around you, and you can start to notice the individual signatures of their energy. Just keep aligned with yours. And every night, do this thing again. And as you breathe out, allow those energies to flow through your breath and away from you, because you may keep hold of it for too long, and that can drive you crazy. Listen to the intuitions that you have. Listen to, not the voices, because then you'll be sitting in a clinic somewhere, but The feeling of knowing that comes into your mind, listen to that at all times, and don't believe that you're crazy. You're not. You're a beautiful, special type of person. You may have loved to draw dark images as a child. You may have loved death in a way, not that you like death, but here's an example. I had like a deer skull, and I like to paint it red and put it on my face and act or do Native American ceremonies, and for some people that's grotesque or gruesome, and for me, it was beautiful. I didn't want the animal to be dead. But death in itself is beautiful, because death is the true awakening from this dream life. It's beautiful. I used to draw corpses skateboarding or write poems about death, but to me, it was just a beautiful balance of life and death on paper where I could see it, and I loved it. So if you're like this, if you are a blacklight, again, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you. There are so many tricks and techniques that we as black lights could use in order to help better the world. This is B.S.V. I love you guys. And you know what? Please like and subscribe for me and share this stuff, because I just want to help people. Love you. Bye.